What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Biker Mice from Mars Wave 1 by Nacelle. And as you could see, this wave includes Throttle, Moto, and Vinny, the three main characters from the show. And you all know the story behind Biker Mice from Mars. Just in case you don't, back in the late 80s and early 90s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were the biggest thing in the world, and everybody wanted to copy what they had going on, so a bunch of these types of things came out in that era. And some of my favorites were Street Sharks and Biker Mice from Mars. And to be honest with you, I don't really remember too much about the Biker Mice from Mars shows, but I remember the figures. I remember those vividly because they were awesome. Like, to me, they always felt like they were ahead of their time. Like, they had more articulation. I remember specifically that they had like elbow joints. So I remember at the time liking those quite a bit. So when I heard Nacelle was doing these, I was hyped up. But when I saw the promo images, I was like, the hype kind of died because they didn't look that great. But as the production went on, more pictures came out. They started to look better and better. And here we are. They're looking pretty damn awesome. So huge thank you to Nacelle for sending these out to me to take a look at. I'm very excited to get these guys out of their boxes. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting off with the packaging. As you can see here, it does say the names of each of the characters on the front, and then there's a little bit of information about each one of them right there as well. We have the Biker Mice from Mars logo on all three of them, and then of course you could see the figures through the window along with all the accessories that they come with. On the back we get some cool looking artwork and we get some descriptions of the characters. So for those of us who don't really remember too much about these guys, each one of these boxes has information about the actual character, so I really do appreciate that. But yeah, I think the boxes for these guys look really good. They allow you to see the figure, they tell you about the character, and they're collector friendly. So all good stuff. But enough about the boxes. Let's go ahead and get these guys out and take a look. Okay, so here we have the Biker Mice from Mars out of their packaging, and man, I've got to say, I am really impressed with these figures. I've been playing around with them for probably a little over a week at this point. And man, I haven't been able to put them down. They are so much fun. Like, I've been working on other videos and doing other things or whatever, but I've kept one of these mice figures around me at all times. Even when I leave the toy room, I'm like walking around playing with these figures. And man, I've just got to say, they're so much fun. These guys turned out awesome. And you know, I was skeptical when they were first shown, obviously. Those first promo images were not great, but these figures, like, they turned out so much better than I would have expected. They killed it. And one thing that like pictures and promo images and all that really can't convey is the feel of the figures. These guys feel really nice right out of the packaging. They're so much fun to pose around and play with. All the joints move smoothly and they just feel good, you know? So that's a big thing about these figures that you're not going to really be able to understand until you're actually touching them. To me, they kind of feel similar to NECA in some ways, but you know, different in other ways. Like the joints kind of feel like import joints almost. Like they have double jointed pinless elbow joints, and they kind of have like, the joints themselves kind of remind me of import figure joints. But like the torso and stuff really feels like a NECA figure. So yeah, it kind of, the whole thing kind of caught me by surprise, but I've got to say, man, I love these things. And you know, one common complaint that I've already heard about these figures is that they have ball joints at the hips. And I'll be honest with you, it does not bother me like, like at all. I didn't even notice the ball joints at the hips until somebody like mentioned it. But to me, these look completely fine. I think that Nacelle did a good job of blending the ball joints into the upper thigh and into the hip area. So it all looks good to me. I don't know. I mean, I know there are better ways to do like upper thigh areas, but in my opinion, these do not look bad at all. And it might be my Toy Biz trained mentality that's making me say that, but you know, at the end of the day, I think the hips look completely fine. That's just my opinion. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. And looking at all three of them all together like this, another thing that caught me by surprise is the differences in all these guys. Like the pants are different. You know, obviously they all have different overlays, but they're all a different size. Like I wasn't really expecting that. Like, look how much bigger Moto is compared to the rest, and Vinny is smaller than the other two, obviously. But man, like those little differences really make each figure feel unique, and you know, they don't just feel like repaints of each other, which you know, I expected that they were. So man, they caught me by surprise in a lot of ways, but these things turned out really dope. But let's go ahead and take a look at these guys individually, starting off with the leader, Throttle. And as you could see, Throttle is looking pretty badass with his biker vest and handkerchief around the neck with no shirt on underneath. That's crazy. He's got the Biker Mice tattoo on the shoulder. And the cool thing about the vest is that it's not sculpted on or anything, but it doesn't get in the way of the articulation at all. The handkerchief and the vest are one piece though, so if you wanted to remove it, you'd probably have to take the arms off or something. But it is kind of cool that it's not sculpted down, but it, you know, it looks like it is. It's on there very nicely, and it doesn't get in the way of the articulation. So yeah, they did a good job with the vest and stuff. And one thing that I was surprised by is that all of their legs are different. Like, they look the same when you're just kind of looking at them like this, but when you look close, they all have different details. Like Moto has like a, you know, like a wrap around the knee kind of, and Throttle does not. And then if you look at Vinny has like these studs that go up the legs. So yeah, that kind of caught me by surprise. There's a lot of little details on these guys that make them look and feel different from each other. But yeah, Throttle, you know, I'm going to tell you right off the top, Throttle may be my favorite out of the three of them. All of them are nice, but I like Throttle a lot. And I think Throttle has the best looking head sculpt and face out of the three of them, mostly because he has the sunglasses and they're covering up his crazy looking eyes. All three of these guys have some crazy eyeballs. You could kind of justify it because, like, you know, they're like half robotic in a lot of cases, but man, the eyeballs are kind of crazy. But with Throttle, you don't have to worry about it because they are covered up, but you are able to remove these glasses. Let's go ahead and take these off. They're on there really securely too, but whoa, you could remove them and then there's a look at his eyes. Actually, his don't look too bad, but Vinny's are crazy. But yeah, he definitely looks better with the shades on. And yeah, it's really cool that you're able to put these on and off because I wasn't aware of that before. But yeah, he looks awesome with these shades. And yeah, the rest of the head sculpt looks good. He has some earrings and his big mouse ears. He's got his teeth. And then he has the antenna on top of the head, or antennae. And these are pretty sturdy. You don't have to worry about breaking those. But yeah, I think this is a good looking head sculpt. Then moving down to the body, we do have the handkerchief. And it looks pretty good. It's a little fuzzy where the red meets the black, but it's not too bad at all. Everything else looks really clean. Look at the vest. And yeah, the figure looks clean, man. We've got the pinless elbows, and then he has the Biker Mice from Mars tattoo. Damn, that's really clean. That's awesome. On this side, he does have like a bandana wrapped around the wrist, and then his gloves. Around the waist, he has his belt, and then some like pouches. And, you know, there's no paint wash in there, probably because they wanted to keep that, like, cartoony kind of look. And then he does have a gun on the side here, but you're not able to remove it. It's sculpted in there. And then, yeah, not a whole lot going on with the pants and the boots, but it all looks good and really clean. So, yeah, I think Throttle looks great, and he definitely has the best head sculpt situation. And then next up, we have Vinny, who's the smallest of the three figures. And if you read his biography on the back of the box, it kind of gives the impression that he's a bit of a knucklehead. But yeah, man, the figure turned out really nice. As you could see, he is looking badass. He does have a handkerchief just like Throttle, but this time around you're able to remove it completely. So if you wanted to change up the look just a little bit, you could. And then he does have these like straps across the chest. And they are not sculpted down. And it kind of seems like they are because they're on there very securely. They're not floating around or shifting awkwardly or anything like that. So although, you know, they are a separate piece, they did a good job of making sure they were tight enough to the body that it doesn't cause any problems. At the same time, it's not like permanent. So if you wanted to remove them, you probably could, but you'd have to take the arms off or something like that. But if you wanted to take the straps off for customizing purposes, it's definitely possible. And, you know, the upper body is completely white on Vinny, and I'm just not a big fan of when, you know, figures are painted white, but, you know, it is what it is. That's what the character calls for, so can't really knock Nacelle for it. But, yeah, the white always just kind of looks weird on plastic figures. But for the most part on Vinny, I think it looks mostly okay. It just kind of has like an off-white look to it. And the paint on Vinny isn't quite as crisp as it is on Moto and Throttle. But, you know, it's not bad or anything. I just think it could have been done a little bit better. As you could see right here, he does have like this metal faceplate covering half of his face. And where the gray meets the white isn't quite as sharp as it could have been, you know. But aside from that, you know, I don't really have too many huge issues. His alternate head does have a couple of imperfections. That definitely could have been a lot cleaner. But as far as the main head goes, it's not too bad. Then moving down to the body, he does have this handkerchief like I mentioned before. Then he's got these straps across the chest. These look really good. These are painted nicely. Yeah, those are good. And he does have a small paint imperfection right there. It's really small, kind of hard to see, but you could tell that there's a little chip in there. But, you know, not major at all. Not a big deal. But yeah, as far as the rest of the figure goes, there's not a whole lot going on. He does look good. As I mentioned before, his pants are slightly different than the other guys. So are the boots. Actually, all of their boots are different from each other. That is super cool. Vinny just has plain black boots. He kind of has the most simple design out of all of them. But I do think that he looks good. I feel like the paint could have been a little bit more clean and more crisp. But for the most part, I think that Vinny looks pretty awesome. And then next up, we have Moto. And he is the biggest out of the three figures. It definitely feels like he's kind of the bruiser of the squad. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate to the characteristics of Moto, but physically, it seems that way. He's definitely the biggest and seems to be the strongest. But man, he is looking awesome. Just like the other figures, he does have some stuff on the upper torso here, but it's not sculpted down. He's got like this armored chest plate kind of thing. And as you can see, it moves around, but it's on there nicely. So it's not going to just like float around uncontrollably. So they did a good job with that on him too. But man, I really love the colors on him. He's got some dark blue, some red, some awesome looking purple. And then he has like the yellow on the chest and on the belt that kind of stands out, you know, among all those dark colors. He does have his cybernetic arm. And at first I was like, man, why did they only do a single joint on this side? But that's accurate to the way the old toys look and the design in the actual cartoon. So I'm glad that they did that and didn't try to force in a double jointed elbow. But yeah, he is looking really, really good. And the paintwork on Moto is just as good as it is on Throttle. They did a good job with it. Everything looks crisp and clean. And man, I think he has like the coolest character design out of all of them. He's got one crazy looking eye, but he gets a pass, you know, because he's got like a bunch of robot parts on him and he's pretty much like a cyborg, you know. And then he does have a Nick Fury style eye patch on this side. He's got some earrings just like his homies, so that's cool. And then he does have the antennae. But yeah, I think this is a good looking head sculpt. Then moving down to the body, I love his like colors, you know. The purple, the blue, the red, all of that looks really nice. And all of this is very crisp and clean and really well done. He's got the shoulder pads. And then he does have his cybernetic arm. I do wish that he came with some type of like attachments to put in here. Maybe like some type of missile launcher or a flamethrower or something cool like that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But it does look good. He's got some red on the knuckles there. He's got his gray fur or skin or whatever. I don't know what the hell. But yeah, he's looking good. He's got the purple gloves. And then moving down to the legs, he's got like red wraps around the knees. And then his boots are crazy. So yeah, those look good. And then just taking a look at the ball joints here. Like I said, I think they flow pretty smoothly on all these figures. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, Moto looks awesome. I love the character design, love the colors, and everything is painted really well, sculpted really well, and I think he looks good. And all three of the mice come with a lot of the same accessories. Each one of them does get like a special weapon as well, but most of the accessories are the same between all three figures. So starting off with the common stuff, each one of them comes with 3 different head sculpts. Here's the first set of head sculpts here. These are the ones that we've already looked at. They're basically just like neutral facial expressions, except for Vinny. He kind of has like a big old cheesy smile. And then next up, each one of them comes with like a smiling, laughing head sculpt. And then finally, each of them gets their head sculpts that have the helmets on them. And then each figure does get 3 sets of hands. So first off, we get fists, and then we have open hands, and then finally we have gripping hands. And then each one of them comes with a blaster, which is able to go into that gripping hand. And I like these blasters quite a bit. They definitely have like an old school, like goofy, cartoonish kind of vibe to them. I love the red, the purple, the yellow colors on there. It definitely goes well with the silliness that is Biker Mice from Mars, you know. So these blasters are nice, and they do have like a hole in the barrel here, so you can stick like an effect in there or something if you'd like. But yeah, I think these are really cool, and the mice look awesome holding on to them. So these are fun. And then for the final common accessory, each one of them gets a hot dog. And this is pretty hilarious. It's funny that like they pretty much took as many elements from Ninja Turtles as they could. Obviously, the hot dogs are, you know, supposed to be like what pizza is to Ninja Turtles. So I don't know, man. That's hilarious. I love that Nacelle included the hot dogs with these figures. That's a lot of fun. And each one of them comes with their own unique special weapon. So here's the one that comes with Throttle. And this is kind of cool because it has an action feature. So, you know, that's a lot of fun. Basically, you could take this and boom. Oh, shit. Took 2 people out. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. And it comes with 3 of these sprockets. I believe this thing is called a sprocket launcher. And, you know, he can hold it and stuff in that regular gripping hand. And I like the metallic finish on here. That's kind of cool. That's very in line with the whole biker mechanic type of theme that these weapons have. And then Vinny comes with a crowbar, and just like the sprocket launcher, it has like a metallic kind of finish to it. So yeah, that's cool. Wait, I don't know if this is a crowbar. I could be wrong. This probably is something specific for you know, working on motorcycles. So let me know in the comments if you're like a cool biker guy and you know what that is. But I have no idea. I'm just gonna call it a crowbar. And then he also has this clamp thing. So it's another weapon that has an action feature, and he is able to hold on to this pretty easily. But some of these weapons that have the action features kind of have like, you know, awkward shapes. So it's kind of weird the way that you get them to hold it. But yeah, he's able to grip onto it, so that's cool. I'm not really into the weapons that have the action features unless, you know, you could just kind of use them like regular weapons. Like I think the sprocket launcher is small enough to use it like that, but this thing is kind of big and crazy. And then Moto comes with this big old golden thing. I don't even know what the hell this weapon is supposed to be, but it kind of goes away from the, you know, mechanic theme. This kind of feels a lot more sci-fi, but it's probably inspired by some type of mechanic tool. But yeah, this is kind of cool. The only thing is, it's hard for him to bend his arm while he's holding it. So like all the weight is on the end of the arm. So like it's a little heavy for him. Same thing over here. Like this arm could barely hold it. Yeah, so it's a little heavy for his arms. I mean, damn, it made it seem like way looser than it really is. But yeah, so I don't know. The awkward shape of this gun kind of makes it to where like you can't really use it. I mean, he could hold it just... I mean, you could balance it. Let's see, how about like this? Yeah, not really. I mean, you could set it up in a way where, you know, he's holding on to it and stuff, but I don't know. It's kind of a hassle. It's like a big crazy. I mean, that looks kind of cool though. I feel like Moto doesn't need guns though. I feel like he just smashes through shit. But I like the fact that they all came with special weapons, but I just don't know how much I like all the weapons. I like the blasters more than all of these special weapons. But, you know, I do think that these weapons are inspired by some of the weapons that came with the original toys. So it's pretty cool to pay homage like that. But yeah, you know, as far as like, in my opinion, I like just the more simpler stuff, like the blasters and the hot dogs. I think those are the cooler accessories. And Nacelle has announced that they're going to be putting out the motorcycles for the Biker Mice from Mars, but just to give you an idea of what they look like on some bikes, here we have them on a couple of different types of motorcycles that I have laying around. In the middle there, we have the Marvel Legends Ghost Rider motorcycle, which is something like a little bit more traditional, like an actual motorcycle. And then over here we have Hawkeye's Sky Cycle for Vinny, and you know, he's not rocking a helmet. I feel like he has to be told to put a helmet on or something like that. But I have to be very careful because if this isn't balanced correctly, it's going to fall over. And then Moto is on Cosmic Ghost Rider's motorcycle. And I think this actually works really well for Biker Mice from Mars because, you know, they do have like a science fiction type of vibe to them, you know? So I think that works. And the size actually works really well too. Don't fall, Vinny, you punk. Yeah, I think this motorcycle works pretty well for Biker Mice from Mars. I'm looking forward to getting the bikes for them. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, from what I've seen, they look pretty nice. So hopefully those come out sooner rather than later to kind of complete the whole look for these guys. And then for some quick size comparisons, here we have the Biker Mice from Mars alongside the NECA Mirage Comics Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Donatello and the NECA Animated Series Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael. And I think the Biker Mice look really good next to the NECA Turtle stuff. And you know, obviously these characters are not part of the same universe, but in my mind, they kind of are because I used to play with the Turtle figures and the Biker Mice figures, and they kind of existed in the same world to me. So I'm probably going to end up displaying the Biker Mice with my Ninja Turtles. And then here we have them alongside a couple of NECA Splinter figures. On the left, we have the Ninja Turtles Animated Series version, and on the right, we have the Ninja Turtles Mirage Comics version. And for some more Wade's childhood action, here we have them alongside the Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Wolverine and the Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Gambit. Next up, we have them alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Classic Comic Book Spider-Man and the Mafex Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider. And then here we have them alongside the Jada Toys Street Fighter Ryu and Fei Long. And then here we have them alongside the Mezco 112 Collective, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Michelangelo, and the knockoff NECA Mirage Comics Leonardo. And then of course here we have the Biker Mice from Mars alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. And then here's another character that probably got a lot of play along with the Biker Mice from Mars when I was a kid. What we have here is the Super 7 Toxic Crusader Toxie, and then on the opposite side we have the Masterverse 40th Anniversary He-Man. And Nacelle is currently building up their own like comic book universe, and it's going to consist of like several like different existing properties like coming together, you know, and a couple of those properties are Biker Mice from Mars and RoboForce. Nacelle put out these RoboForce figures, I want to say maybe like last year or possibly the year before, but these are figures that like I had no interest in and somebody gave them to me and I was like completely surprised by how good they are. I think they're awesome and it's really cool to see them cross over with Biker Mice from Mars. The preview I've seen of the comic looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm curious to see how they bring it all together, but I do think the figures look really cool next to each other. And all three figures have the same exact articulation setup, but the range on certain joints may vary figure to figure depending on what they have going on in regards to their costume, you know. But for the most part, the articulation feels identical between the three figures. And yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on. There's a surprising amount of articulation, to be honest with you. But let's go ahead and use Moto as the example here, starting off with the head. He's able to look up to about right there. He could look down to right there. And then we get some tilting side to side action. And then he could look left to right. So the head is a little limited. I do wish they were able to look up just a little bit more. But, you know, it's not horrible. I love that we get some tilt action out of it. And then for the torso, I'm really surprised with the torso. Because on those initial promo images, they did not have any torso articulation. And they added it. And I've got to say, they did a good job with it. So he does have a diaphragm cut. And check out the movement on this. Like, look at the side-to-side action. That is awesome. And then it goes forward to right there, which is pretty good. You know, I'll take that for sure. I do wish that they had ball joints at the waist as well. That would have added some movement to the whole torso. But I'm really happy with this diaphragm cut. Then it goes back to about right there. It doesn't really go back too much. But I'm really happy with how... you know, how much it moves forward and the side to side. And then, you know, you could twist on there too. And then he does have a waist swivel, but on Moto and Vinny, it's a little hindered by the belt. With Throttle, he does have like some really good range on the torso, even though he does have the biker jacket. It hinders it a little bit, but not a whole lot. Going forward, he still pretty much gets the same amount of movement as Moto and Vinny, and side to side is really nice too. And then for Throttle, his belt doesn't get in the way at the waist, so that's kind of cool. Like, for him, I guess they brought it down a little lower, and with Moto and Vinny, it seems to be like right on the joint. So when you're twisting it, it kind of, you have to either move it all the way up or all the way down to get it to move correctly. But anyways, yeah, the torso on these guys, they did a good job with it. I'm very happy that they made that change, and they were so successful with it. And then for the arms, they do have ball joints at the shoulders, so the arms could go all the way around. And then you could bring them up to about right there. And even though Moto has shoulder pads, you know, doesn't really affect the movement at all. It still pretty much gets the same as the other guys. So that's nice. And then he does have upper bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows that get a really good bend. And then all of them have a ball joint at the wrist. So, you know, you get a hinge in there. You could spin it around. You could rotate the hand. You could do all kinds of good stuff. But good movement at the arm. And then specific to Modo, he does have his cybernetic arm that also has, you know, upper bicep swivel. And as I mentioned, a single joint at the elbow, but it does get some good range. Whoa, I don't know if he needs to do that, but there you go. It gets pretty decent range. And then he does have the ball joint at the wrist as well. And then for the legs, they have those ball joints that everybody hates, but I think they're fine. And you're able to get them to kick forward to about right there. They could bring it back to right there. Ooh, look at that. They could go out to the side a really nice amount. And then, boom, get them into some nice kicking action. Ooh, there we go. And then he does have upper thigh swivel. They have double jointed knees. They get a good bend. Look at that. Boom. It's a really nice bend. And then a swivel at the boot, at the foot. Whoa, you could bring his foot forward to right there, up to right there, rocking ankles. And yeah, that's about it for the feet. So like I said, really good articulation on these guys. And the joints feel real good. Like everything moves smoothly and it's a pleasure to handle. I will say though, Moto's knees are a little, I don't want to say they're loose, but they're not as tight as they are on the other figures. So, you know, they're really smooth, but maybe just a little too smooth. Oh, and I forgot the tail. For the tail, it's just on a little ball joint, so it rotates around. There's no bendy wire in there, unfortunately, but you can rotate it around like that. But yeah, man, the articulation on these guys it's a surprise. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on. And like I said, the figures just feel real good when you're like handling them. They're a whole lot of fun to play with. The joints are smooth. Everything moves nicely. And yeah, you could get them into some great poses. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I think these guys are awesome. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised by how much I like them. I really didn't think that I would enjoy them as much as I do. From those initial promo images, I kind of got the impression that these things were going to come out kind of like Super 7 Ultimates figures, where they look really good, but they're not really like hand friendly. They're not really fun to pose around. They don't have all that much articulation, and they just they're just like cool shelf pieces. I thought that's what we were going to get out of these, but that's definitely not the case. These things are a whole lot of fun to play around with. They have some great articulation. I love that they have the diaphragm cut, and you know, initially that wasn't there, but Nacelle listened to feedback and they added it, and just salute to them for doing that, because it's rare that companies will listen to direct feedback like that and actually put it into their figures so quickly. So that is really dope. But man, these figures are so much fun to pose around and play with. I know people don't like the ball joints at the hips. Personally, I do not mind them whatsoever. They're perfectly fine and they work well. But yeah, the figures are a whole lot of fun to pose around and play with. They killed it with the articulation. The accessories are nice too. I love the heads, the hands, the blasters, the special weapons, and the hot dogs. That's a whole lot of fun. And the designs are really nice too. I think for the most part, they did a really great job with the paint work. Vinny does have some imperfections and the paint on him isn't quite as crisp as it is on Throttle and Moto. But you know, for the most part, I think they did a good job on all the paint. Moto and Throttle look really good. Everything is crisp and clean, and I don't think I saw any imperfections on them. Vinny had a couple of small imperfections, but nothing major. The sculpting work is really nice too. I think they did a great job with all the details, and these figures do an amazing job of capturing the silliness and the fun and just the goofy nature of these characters. So as far as the design goes, Nacelle did an amazing job. But man, yeah, like I've got to say, I really didn't think that I would like these figures as much as I do. So yeah, honestly, I really don't have any huge complaints about these figures. Some of the paint could have been a little crisper on Vinny, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is like good to go. I guess as far as like articulation goes, like a ball joint at the waist would have been nice, but aside from that, I don't have any complaints. These things are awesome, and they're gonna go right along with my NECA Ninja Turtle figures. They feel very similar in a lot of ways, so I think that's nice. And also the price is good on these guys too. I think they're only about $35 or something like that. Like that's, I mean, that's pretty good for this type of thing. So yeah, man, I'm very happy with this whole experience. Huge thank you to Nacelle for sending these out to me. I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and you guys did a great job on these figures. And you know, Nacelle's off to a good start with their like shared universe with the Biker Mice from Mars and the RoboForce stuff. They do look cool together, even though like it kind of feels like it clashes, but it definitely works, you know. So it's awesome. I can't wait to read some of those comics. They do look like a lot of fun, and it's so cool that they're making toys right along with those comics, you know, to kind of go all together. But yeah, man, these things are great, and I'm so happy with them. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. Thank you very much. Peace.